Okay, so welcome to our February Lunch and Learn. We will be discussing the topic of developing language and communication with two of our staff here. We have Ms. Crystal Roberts and Ms. Ryan Fowler on, who are going to be leading us through a great discussion and giving us some great information about early literacy. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. Otherwise, we will just continue on and I will hand it over to them. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for being here for our February Lunch and Learn. As Lindsay discussed, we're going to be talking about developing language and communication and how you can support your child at home through developing early literacy skills and having healthy habits with screen time. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Ryan Fowler. I'm the Special Education Support Specialist for our Special Education Department. This is my 14th year in education. 12 of those have been in Smithville. Before I was in this role, I was a pre-K and our early childhood special education teacher at Brown Primary, and I worked very closely with Miss Roberts in supporting our students' language and communication.
I'm Crystal Roberts. I am a speech language pathologist for the district. This is my 8th year as a school-based speech pathologist, or in short, SLP. Yeah.
All right. So today we really wanted to focus on those of you that may have preschool age students at home, children at home. Maybe you're a grandparent, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're an aunt and uncle. Maybe you have a home-based daycare and just want to learn more about how to support development of language and communication and how that's going to affect these children once they get to school. So here's kind of an overview of what we're going to be discussing. So we're going to be looking at milestones for language and communication, the role of language development on executive functioning skills, and why those skills are important for school readiness, the academic impacts of language and communication delays, and then how you can support your child at home through creating a literacy or a language-rich environment at home and through developing healthy screen time habits.
All right, so what are we looking for relative to age and communication milestones? So some things that your child should be able to do by the age of 3 are carry on a conversation with at least 2 back and forth communicative exchanges, asking WH questions such as where is mommy or daddy, identifying actions in pictures or books, saying their first name when asked, and they should be understood by most peers or adults. By 4 years of age, we look for kiddos to be able to create phrases or sentences of at least 4 or more words, recite or join in during songs, stories, or nursery rhymes, recalling at least one event that happened during their day, and identifying functions of objects or answering simple WH questions. So functions of objects would be, what do we use a toothbrush for to brush our teeth? What do we use a chair for to sit? So those are all important developmental milestones relative to communication at the age of 3 and 4.
All right, so next we're going to talk about how language and communication affects executive functioning skills. But not everyone might know what executive functioning skills are, but those are our daily living skills. They're skills needed to plan, to solve problems, and to achieve goals. So I have a list of 10 right there. All of them are important for school readiness and to help children be successful in a school environment. But I'm going to specifically talk about the 4 that have asterisks by them. So the first one is working memory. So what is working memory? So it's the ability to hold and manipulate information in your mind while actively using that information to complete a task. So for instance, like following multi-step directions, relating ideas that you're learning, relating it to something you've already learned. Another good example is like knowing a phone number and being able to type it at the same time. The next one is self-control. So this is the ability to resist temptation, to think before you speak or act, impulsivity, and be able to calm whatever impulsive ideas or thoughts are going in through your head, the ability to stay on task, and to delay gratification. Next, we'll talk about attention. So again, that's just being able to focus on one task that's in front of you, but able to ignore other stimuli that might be in the immediate environment. And the next one is flexibility. And so this is to be able to see other people's perspective, to see things in a new way, and to adjust to changes or to the unexpected. So again, these are all, as you can imagine, things that a kid that we want to be successful in school, both social emotionally, their behavior, and to be academically successful. These are all skills that we want them to have. So when we're looking at the impact of language and communication development on these skills, we have to understand that children are not born with executive functioning skills. They have to be taught and they have to be nurtured. And so there are external factors that can affect or delay the impairment of or the development of these skills. And so language deprivation is one of those. Some other ones could be, unfortunately, kids that experience abuse or neglect. If a kid has medical issues or other disabilities. But again, language deprivation is what we're going to focus on. So again, if we have kids that have delayed language and communication, we can expect to see unexpected outbursts, learn helplessness or lack of independence. They can't problem solve or they can't troubleshoot something. They have immature social skills. So this could look like difficulty with peers, or it could be that they're withdrawn and isolated. Or they could be kind of the opposite spectrum and they're controlling or they're bossy among their peers. So again, if a child's having any of these behaviors, imagine the academic impacts that they're going to have and how that's going to impact their ability to learn and make progress in school.
All right, so we do see academic implications when children present with delays in communication. Typically, we do see a global impairment with academic acquisition across all subject areas. Kiddos might have difficulty following multi-step directions, learning new vocabulary, reading comprehension may be challenging. Spoken and written language are impacted, grammar skills are impacted, their ability to advocate for their wants and needs. And then lastly, those social interactions with peers are impacted. So as you can see, kiddos who do present with language and communication delays are impacted significantly in the academic setting. And these are all the different ways that they can be impacted.
All right, so now hopefully we understand why language and communication is so important, and that does form the basis of executive functioning skills and academic readiness. You may be asking, well, what can I do to help my child? So there's two kind of prongs we're going to look at. The first is how to create a literacy-rich environment in your home. So there are 6 early literacy skills. You can see them on the screen there. So we're going to go one by one and kind of talk about what they are, what we do in school to support that skill, and then what you can do at home to support the skill. So the first one is print motivation. And so this is just being interested in and enjoying books. So kids that, my computer died. Okay, we might have to, so sorry about that. All right, we're going to improvise here. All right, apologies. So print motivation. So children that enjoy books they're going to be more motivated to read and to learn how to read. So in the classrooms, and again, coming from a pre-K background, this is more like what is going on at Brown Primary. Some of this stuff is done up through the elementary school as well, but again, on a more developmentally appropriate level. So in the classroom, again, in pre-K and K classes, and I know they're doing read alouds up through 5th grade. We do read alouds every day. And then books are available throughout the classrooms and in the learning centers, in
So
So sorry, y'all.
yeah. For those of you who've just joined us, if you have questions for Ms. Fowler or Ms. Roberts, you can put them in the chat. I understand there was an issue with the link. I apologize, but I'm glad that a few of you have been able to get on. We are also recording this session, so if you did miss the beginning, we'll be posting it on our YouTube channel so that you are able to watch and get all the information and kind of digest it as you need to. So.
Okay, apologies for that. Okay. All right. So going back to print motivation. So what's going on in the classroom? Again, we have books available in library centers, in the science centers, in their read aloud, and access to books is going on throughout the child's day. So what you can do at home, it's really, really important to read to your child every day. Be excited about the story. Use the funny voices. Put that in teaching your child to read what's called prosody, and making it a part of your child's daily or nightly routine. Oh, it's time for bed. Go pick out a book. Those types of things. All right, next one is book and print awareness. Again, this is understanding that print is everywhere and why it's important. It also includes how to handle a book. So knowing, we start at the front cover, knowing that we read from up to down and from left to right. And so again, children that have a development of or develop an awareness of words before they can read them. They must know how a book works. And so what we do in the classroom, so print awareness is explicitly taught. I can say that from experience in the pre-K level. And again, we're giving access to books to children throughout the classroom. So what you can do to support your child at home. So when you're at the grocery store, when you're driving around town, help them find what's called environmental print. So, oh, we're going to Walmart. Look, it says Walmart up there. And, the next time they show up, oh, Mom, that says Walmart. It does, buddy. Good job. Pointing for words in the books you read. So as you're reading aloud to your child, kind of helping them follow along and understand. Again, we read from left to right, and we first reread this page, then reread this page. Letting them interact with the book as you're reading it aloud, helping them turn the page. So that's important, again, for the print awareness and the book awareness, but also that's a really good fine motor skill, is to be able to turn those pages. All right, so letter knowledge. So what it is, just knowing letters and their sounds. So before we can read words, we have to know that words are made up of individual letters, and those letters have sounds. And when those letters come together, the magic turns on and we can read words. So what we do in the classroom, so letters and sounds are taught explicitly through what we call our HQIMs, our high quality instructional materials. And again, especially in pre-K, letters and letter activities are embedded in every single learning center around the classroom. So at home, playing same and different games. If your child is too young to be getting letter recognition, colors and shapes is really important as well. Understanding, especially shapes. So understanding that, a circle looks different than a square, and describing that. Well, this one has curves and this one has straight lines, because then when we start looking at letters, we can say, a C is a big curve, and an A has two big straights and one little straight. So things like that. So when they start kind of understanding how they can describe and see those differences, it really, really helps in learning letters. Finding letters in books or around the house, kind of about that print awareness. I know in pre-K they put kind of some helpers in the tip folder, some things that they can use at home. So again, look for those and help your child, let's look at the letters on your alphabet chart, and also practicing writing your child's name and talking about the different letters in their name. So vocabulary. So this is just knowing a lot of words. So it's been proven that children with bigger vocabularies are able to make sense of words they're trying to sound out, and it's easier to read a word you already know. So in the classroom, we teach thematically. again, especially at that pre-K level. And this keeps learning fun, and it introduces them to new vocabulary they might not have otherwise been exposed to. Again, we're also reading read alouds that go around along with those themes, and then utilizing word walls with those new words. Even in the kinder classrooms, they're bringing back kind of a dramatic play station, if you will, where they're able to incorporate a lot of these new vocabulary words into writing activities within those play scenarios.
Ms.
So
Fowler,
again,
sorry,
okay.
could you give an example of teaching thematically, like what that?
Oh yeah. So again, they've gotten a new curriculum since I left the classroom, but so say we did community helpers. So we would, what is a firefighter, and again, exposing them to um, different words they might not have already known. What's a veterinarian? And what does it mean to go to a vet? Well, they might use a stethoscope at the doctor's office. What's a stethoscope? And so exposing them to words they might not have heard, it might be new and exciting for them.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So again, reading to your child every day, it all comes back to that. Having conversations with your child. I know that sounds silly, but just again, hey, we're at the doctors and they just listen to your heart, and that's called a stethoscope, and this is what it does. So again, just over discussing things with your child, and just helping them really understand. And again, that goes into the explain meanings of new words. All right, so phonological awareness. So this is a skill that allows children to recognize and work with smaller parts of a word. So we can look at parts of a word as like a syllable, or we can go all the way down to what's called the phoneme level, which is the individual sounds of a word. Again, children that can take apart and manipulate sounds or parts of a word will have an easier time learning to read. So this is a really great chart that explains the phonological continuum. And so they go with the most basic skill all the way up to the most complex. So listening obviously is the simplest skill. And that is just understanding that sounds are the same or different. So I know that the M says and I know the O says ah. I know those sound different. And then we can go into rhyming. So knowing that words sound the same at the end of the word. I know that cat and hat rhyme, and I know that pot and hat don't. A skill, I'll go into this next slide, but while we're here, reading rhyming books, and letting, kind of stopping at that last word and letting your child kind of guess at what it's going to be. It'll help, really, really help with rhyming. Alliteration is words that start with the same sound. So doing those silly tongue twisters, silly Sally sat sipping sour soda. All those words sound the same, or they all start with the same beginning sound. Thinking about, I used to tell my students, Miss Fowler's favorite letter is an F. Why would my favorite sound be, the F that says, because that's your letter. Like, yeah, that's my letter. And what others, words might I like? And so coming up with words that have the same beginning sound as your child's name. And then we go to the sentence level. So understanding that sentences are made up of different words. A good skill for that is counting the words in a sentence that they hear orally. So Miss Fowler is at school. That has 5 words in that. So syllables, so understanding that words can be broken down into parts. This also helps, again, learning to spell and read. As they get older, we'll learn about the 6 syllable types, if it's open or closed or that sort of thing. So again, helps with that. So in pre-K, they really focus on like being able to segment syllables and then put those syllables back together to make words. Onset rhyme is taking the initial sound and then the rest of the word. So at, hat. And then we go into the phoneme level, which is the individual sounds. And this is the most, I guess, the highest order. And being able to delete, manipulate. So if I say hat, okay, now say hat without the and they just say at. So if we're able to do that all in our mind, it's going to be a lot easier when they have to read those words on print. Okay. So again, what do we do in the classroom? daily phonemic awareness lessons. So remember that phonemic awareness is just a piece of the phonological continuum. And reading those rhyming read alouds. Those are always really fun. So I've already mentioned this is read rhyming stories at home and let your child help you read by stopping on that rhyming word and see if they can fill that in. Playing those tongue twisters with those same beginning words with the same beginning sounds. Singing songs together is a really good. It helps because there's beats on the syllables. And so that helps them hear like the parts of a word. And then we've already talked about finding other words that have the same beginning sound as your child's name. All right, and the last one is narration skills. And so this is just your ability to describe things or events, telling stories, sequencing, predicting. This helps really build that comprehension. So what we do in the classroom is retelling, sequencing stories, compare and contrast different versions of the story. I used to love to read different versions of the Three Little Pigs, and we talk about what characters were the same, how are they different, that sort of thing. We encourage narration skills and like dramatic play, giving them puppets, letting them react out stories. In the way you can do at home. So after I'll read a story, ask little simple comprehension questions. So who was in the story? Have them retell what happened in their day. That was one of the 4-year-old skills that Miss Roberts went over earlier. Read a story without words. So, just, hey, what do we think this book's about? Let's just look at the pictures and you tell me a story. And then complete tasks together that require multiple steps. Ms. Saunders and I, as we were talking earlier about cooking and how that is such a great skill to do with your child or activity to do with your child because it incorporates math and multi-step directions and problem solving if something goes wrong and how we can fix that. So cooking is a really cool activity to do at home with your child. All right.
Okay. So the second piece of supporting your child's language and communication development is implementing healthy screen time habits. So here are some recommended screen time limits by age. So as you can see, under 18 months of age, it's recommended no screen time, only video chatting, 2 to 5 years, 1 hour or less a day of high quality programming. So that's educational material like PBS or Sesame Street, something that introduces them to letters or numbers. And then 6 to 15 years, less than 2 hours a day. It is no secret that we live in a very techy society, and it's not uncommon to go to the grocery store or to a restaurant and see even little babies with phones. So these are just things to keep in mind because there are implications of that excessive or overuse of screen time on development. So most importantly, we see the biggest development occur between the ages of 0 and 3 years of age. And when screen time replaces play and other interactions, it negatively impacts brain development and academic readiness. So we've already talked about how it can impact language and communication development, but there are other areas that are impacted as well.
Yeah, so again, we've talked about that children are born with executive functioning skills. They have to be taught and they have to be nurtured. And a lot of that is done through play. And so when we're replacing play and other interpersonal interactions with a screen, then we're not giving our children the skills, the readiness skills needed to be successful at school, both academically and social, emotional, behaviorally. And so again, this is going to affect their ability to sustain attention and to self-regulate their emotions and their behaviors. Again, we might think, oh, they're watching an educational show on the screen, they're learning colors and shapes and all that. And that's great, again, within a healthy limits. But we want them to be able to, maybe take what they're learning and generalize that to a play scenario. So as a mom story here, my kids used to love Blaze, and it's just very engineering based, math and engineering based. And so they were learning about centrifugal force or something. Well, they watched it and then they went out and built their own domino effect staying outside. So again, we're not saying all, developing healthy habits with your child and then taking what they learn and generalizing it to play scenarios. Also, again, screen time, when they're on a screen and not having those play opportunities, we're missing opportunities for fine and gross motor skill development. So fine motor skills are like building blocks and playing with Play-Doh. It's able to use and manipulate those little muscles in your fingers. Gross motor is you're running and you're jumping and those types of things. So again, there's just such an importance with play, and finding that healthy balance for with screen time so kids have those opportunities and can really develop those school readiness skills.
All right. So from a speech language pathologist perspective, a big push or a buzzword in our field is implementing a digital diet. So if we only feed our bodies junk food such as pizza and hamburgers and cookies, our physical health is going to be impacted. So similarly, if we're only allowing our child the opportunity to stare at a screen, their cognitive development is going to be impacted. And we are oftentimes we don't see those problems occur until they begin school. If they're missing out on, that direct social communication with you, like Ms. Fowler said, when you go to the grocery store, picking up fruits and vegetables and talking about the way they look and the colors that they are, that's so important. So therefore, what we put in our brains contributes or negatively impacts healthy brain development. So what can we do? Let's help grow a brain that's ready to learn and watch for signs that may yield a need for reduced screen time or that digital diet. And what are some of those red flags or warning signs of maybe too much screen time? That would be your child expressing anger or becoming upset when they're asked to turn off or put away screens, insisting on increasing amounts of screen time, and then lastly, preferring their screen over just social interactions with the people around them.
So just in summary, we hope that this helped provide you with information on how you can create a literacy-rich and a create a literacy-rich and a language-rich environment in your home, and how you can support your child before they even get to us, and as they are with us, because it's never too late or too early to make language and to make literacy a priority in your home. So I hope you understand too those 6 early literacy skills and how you can support them at home, and you have a better understanding of what healthy screen time habits are for your children and your family.
Thank you guys so much. That was really great information. We do have one question. Are the teachers following all the science of reading lessons? If teachers following.
So all the teachers, well, as new teachers come out of, and I might not be the best person to answer this question, but so all teachers now that are coming out, they're all have to pass as part of their certification. For those of us that have been kind of grandfathered in, we did have to take a 60-hour course on science of reading. And then our curriculum are all from the curriculum that we utilized pre-K to 12 is all from the HQIM, so all from the high quality instructional material list that's put out by TEA. And so therefore should have all those requirements embedded in the curriculum.
Thank you. I did want to put a plug in for our public library, since we're talking about reading and materials. Even if you don't have a robust library at home, which is totally fine, and in the case, we have a wonderful library here in Smithville, right on Main Street. Miss Judy does a great job over there. Miss Judy and friends, I won't just give her all the credit, but they have lots of young little bookworms programs, and I know in the summertime they do a summer reading program. where they have a lot of great activities. So it's just another way to make reading really fun for your kids, and they do a really good job of that. So if anybody is looking for those resources out in the community, that's one place where you definitely could do that.
Yes, especially the plug for the little bookworms. I I've done that with my kids when they were little, and it really hits on all six of those early literacy skills, and a lot of also on those executive functioning skills where they have to sit and attend to a read aloud, and then they get to kind of make an open-ended craft that goes along with the story that again can tie in on the narration skills. So it hits a lot of things. Those little activities hits a lot of things that we discussed here today. They're really, really great program.
Yes, that's great. It's part of that thematic learning you were talking about, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, she really tries if there's like a holiday or something, she'll really try to tie it in. Or today's National Airplane Day, and I remember that's one we went to.
There you go. Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat. We will be, like I said, posting this online for everybody to see. And of course, you can always send questions either to my email and I can pass them along to the SISD Communications email address. Um, but if anything comes up, and you can always talk to your child's teacher. It's a good resource if you have questions, if they are in school, and then obviously just we really appreciate you guys for doing this, and this has been really great information. I want to give everybody just a cup, like another minute, just in case anybody is really thinking of a question or typing, actively typing as we speak. Um, give them just a minute. But I think that's probably it, unless you guys have anything else you can think of that you want to add in. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And I'll be sending an email out soon that has the link to the replay for our on our YouTube page. So y'all have a great day. Thank you.